we're gonna be taking you to some of the most beautiful waterfalls in the entire US. We're gonna be hiking into the Grand Canyon for 3 full days, jumping in waterfalls, hiking around some of the deepest parts of the Grand Canyon until we get to the Colorado River. We're gonna be taking you on our Havasupai backpacking trip. If you're new here, we are the Lover's Passport. We're gonna be taking you on a new bucket list adventure every single month, starting in January from the Northern Lights, to February when we are diving in the Great Barrier Reef, to in March when we are chasing cherry blossoms. This is our crazy adventure for April. We're gonna be backpacking the Grand Canyon.
So first, let's get into what to pack for your trip to Havasupai. Havasupai is a backpacking trip. This is a trip that you're gonna want to pack a lot of gear that's lighter because you are carrying everything on your back if you're doing the full 10-mile hike in. Now, if you're using the mules or if you're helicoptering in, keep in mind, you still are going to have to carry whatever you bring with you for about 1 to 2 extra miles from the Supai village down to the campgrounds. A lot of people that did use that, we saw really struggling coming in down to the village and back up because it is uphill on your way back out where you do the drop off for all of your baggage. So just keep that in mind that you're gonna wanna pack light. Think of everything that you're gonna wanna pack and then go through it and ask yourself, do you really need that? The first time we went back in 2019, I definitely overpacked. I packed like a new outfit for every single day. And when you're backpacking, you really just don't do that. The more and more you go, the more you learn to shed your packing list. But if you guys are interested in getting a full packing list, we do have a backpacking checklist available on our website, which we'll link down in the description below, as well as another full backpacking video on what we pack with us, which I will link up here for you guys to see exactly what we recommend for backpacking. For this trip though, highly recommend bringing a few things in particular. So first being water bladder, water filters, water leader, etc. Just bring lots of water equipment because there's only one fill-up station in all of the reservation, and that's gonna be in the campground area. So from the Supai hilltop all the way down through the Grand Canyon to the village, your first 8 miles of your hike, there are no water sources available. You have to bring all of your water with you in and out for that section where there is no water and it gets hot. We were doing this hike in April and the last time in March, and it definitely gets in the like 70 to 90 degree range depending on when you guys are visiting. But we saw some people without water. That's a terrible idea. The hike out is all uphill for the most part, the last mile and the first 2 miles, so you're gonna want it. We always bring a water bladder with us because it's much easier to stay hydrated while we're hiking. You don't have to stop as much to undo your water bottle, all that kind of stuff. And then the water filter is just good to have too if you are backpacking out to the Confluence where you're gonna need a water refill and you're away from the refill station in the campgrounds. That's why we highly recommend bringing something like a Grail, Aquamira tablet, something like that to purify your water along the way. Next up on our gear list that we would bring particularly for this backpacking trip is water shoes. We brought water shoes because there's a lot of river crossings going across from Mooney Falls over to Beaver Falls and the Confluence. The Confluence, I think we did like 16 water crossings or something like that. And it's a real pain to like want to change in and out of shoes all the time. So having just a good pair of water shoes is gonna save you a lot of time on those hikes instead of taking off your boots and going barefoot across and having to put them back on. It's more of a convenience thing. It is a little more weight, which is why you wouldn't normally recommend bringing like an extra pair of shoes, but it's nice to have a pair of shoes to change into at camp as well as for the water crossings. One big thing that I'd also recommend tying in with that is bringing blister band-aids or some sort of rock tape or moleskin, because that way if you get blisters along the way, which are kind of inevitable with going in and out with wet feet, that way you can prevent them when you start feeling hot spots, then you can put them on immediately and kind of save your feet a little bit. If not, we'd bring an extra pair of socks to wear with your water shoes because that definitely helps avoid the blisters. I did that after a certain amount of time because my feet were getting a little wrecked. So definitely recommend bringing an extra pair of socks and some blister band-aids for your water shoes. Next up, we'd recommend bringing a hammock and hammock straps. Havasupai has some beautiful areas to hammock. It's one of our favorite things that we did there, both trips, and it's just absolutely beautiful. You get to relax in front of these stunning waterfalls and just hang out, enjoy the time, take in the beautiful scenery, and it's a really nice way to just enjoy your time in Havasupai. The last thing we recommend bringing is a sitting pad, a little butt pad perhaps. You can get these on Amazon for fairly cheap, but this is mainly if you are getting a campsite and let's say all the ones with tables are full. Now you have a little nice seat that you can sit on while you're cooking things, or if you're just hanging out, having a little butt pad is kind of nice so you're not just sitting in the dirt. This is a luxury item. You don't need it per se, but it weighs basically nothing and it fits right in your backpack usually, so highly recommend in that department. Also nice just for day hikes. I use it all the time when we're not backpacking, so it's just a versatile little piece of gear.
In addition to packing all that, you're going to have to pack food, and there's really 3 different options when you're packing food for Havasupai. You can choose whether you want to bring in all of your own food, which is what we chose to do.
Oh gee. Breakfast is served.
We brought a little bear canister, packed that up with all of our snacks, lunches, dinners, and breakfast. We did reserve 1 spot for fry bread, which leads us to the next way you can eat when you're out there in Havasupai. There is a general store where you can go and buy food. So they sell lunch, they sell dinner. Sometimes they're not open the entire week. For instance, when we were there, we were planning on getting lunch one of the days, but they did not have anything because they were closed for construction. So don't plan on them having food the entire time, but there are some spots along the way where you can buy fry bread. In our opinion, the best fry bread in the entire area is the one closest to Havasu Falls. The last way that you can get food on the trip is the general store. So if you want to backpack in or even mule in or take the helicopter and just buy all of your food at the convenience store, you can do it there. It's just gonna be a little bit more expensive than if you were to hike all of your food in, because they do have to pay for all the transportation for the food to get there in the first place. So we would recommend go to REI, go to one of your outdoorsy stores and pick up some Backpackers Pantry or some other type of super easy freeze-dried meal.
So how do you even get to go to Havasupai? This is a backpacking trip that requires very hard to acquire permits. It's a very popular hiking area, very popular backpacking trip. Obviously, you can see why there's so much appeal. The waterfalls are absolutely beautiful. The turquoise water is just stunning. And we've done it twice now, and it's absolutely worth the crazy permit process. So typically, every year on February 1st, the Supai tribe will release permits on their website, in which case you'd want to make an account in advance ahead of time before they are released, so that way your payment information is already saved on there, your contact info is already saved on there, and it's a seamless process. It is really hard to get permits, you guys. Like, we in the past have gotten there right at 7 a.m. Arizona time when they're released on that day, and it's like Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle 2.0. Like, it is really, really hard to get permits. But the way that we have been able to get them the past couple of years that we've gone is through the amazing Save and Grace page called the Cancellations and Transfers page. Every single day, people that release their permits that have gotten them and can't use them anymore for one reason or another will release them onto this page, and you can take their ticket from that page. So if you guys check every single day for a week, let's say you wanna go some random week in June, check every day before you decide to go on your trip. You're gonna have to be a little more spontaneous and flexible. Sometimes you'll see more availability like out of the blue for later in the months, but typically when you're checking it, like if I was gonna check it this week, I'll find permits for next week or this weekend. So it's kind of last minute, but it's a great way to get it. We know several people that we met in Havasupai this last trip that got their permits that week and decided, hey, let's just do it, why not? A lot of those people were Arizona locals, but if you have the flexibility, we definitely recommend going that way. Every year, the permits get a little bit more expensive. So the first time we did it back in 2019, it was a couple $100. Now it was close to $400 per person. It was like $375. And for 2024 permit season, I have no idea what the price is gonna be, but we'll link down the website below where they will have all of that information once they release it. It's just not released yet. I highly recommend when you guys are trying to get these permits, joining the Havasupai Facebook page that's run by the tribe officially, because they put in a lot of great updates on closures, openings, permit release dates, all that kind of stuff in their page that you might not necessarily find off the cuff on a website or something. Starting in 2023, the Havasupai tribe implemented a new check-in permit system. So in the past, it's been a little different. You used to hike into the village and check in there and then finish your 2 miles once you got your permits in the village. Nowadays, you can either check in the day before your hike or the day of your hike, but you can't start after a certain time limit, which It might change in the next year, but I believe it was 2 p.m. This year, but we checked in the day before, which we highly recommend doing, you guys, because if something happens, if you're driving out there, you get a flat tire, you have some difficulty getting there, you have some buffer room, they're pretty strict on when you can go in with your reservation. If you miss your check-in, you're not gonna be able to go and your permits will be released. So really take that deadline super seriously. We checked in the day before our hike and there were people checking in the day of for their hike and it was around noon and they had to get in and start hiking before 2 o'clock. And also it's just really hot in the afternoon. So if you can check in the day before and get an early start for the following day, then it's gonna make your life a lot easier and it's gonna be a lot less of a hot day when you're hiking. You check in at the Grand Canyon Cavern Inn. It's this little tiny shack off the highway and it's really seamless check-in process. You have to bring your ID, your permit information, your account confirmation. It says all of this stuff when you guys get your permit. Make sure to read everything on the permit once you guys get your permits, because a lot of people did not take the time to simply read everything and they somehow messed up their check-in process. So highly recommend just read everything. Some people didn't read and didn't go to the Grand Canyon Cavern Inn to get the wristband in advance. Drove an hour all the way out to there's a second check-in point once you get your wristbands. So they drove all the way out there, they didn't have their wristbands and they had to go all the way back and then all the way out there again. It's a waste of time, a waste of gas, and you know, it's just not fun to have to do that if you could have avoided it in the first place. So definitely read it, get your wristbands in advance. So once you get your wristbands, you're going to drive down this road to the reservation. That's gonna take about an hour, hour and a half. And then right before the trailhead, so like 5 miles before the trailhead, you'll see some cones or a check-in station where they're gonna check to see if you have your wristband or not, and then they will permit you to go park at the trailhead and you can start your hike from there. But it's a 2-part check-in process for 2023. So just be aware of that. You can't start hiking from the trailhead prior to like 5 to 6 a.m. That's when you can start going in the day of your hike and park at the trailhead. But yeah, just be aware there's a 2-part system. So once you're all checked in, you're going to park your car at the trailhead. There's 2 different like actual parking lots and then there's street side parking along this wall.
One thing to note when you guys are starting is you see all these cars over here? A lot of people say that there are rock fall from the top. So we would highly recommend parking on this side where there are no rocks above you. Isn't that correct, G?
That is correct. And you never know, you might get nicked with another car trying to parallel park over there. It's a lot easier to just pull into a normal parking spot. So if you can get one, highly recommend it. If not, it's not the end of the world. We did park on that side the first time we did it and didn't have any issues, but it's just nice having a little more peace of mind parking away from the wall. There are also bathrooms at the parking lot. If you guys are concerned about that, make sure you use them before you start hiking down, because those are the last bathrooms you're gonna find until you get down to the Supai village, if that concerns you. The parking lot is also going to be right next to the helicopter station. So if you helicopter in and out, it's right next to that. So keep an eye out for that.
All right, we have officially finished packing up. G's got her backpack in. This is goodbye to the Forerunner for a few days.
Goodbye, Forerunner.
All right, let's get
roll.
moving. There are 3 different ways that you can hike into Havasupai or get there. So once you're at the parking lot, you can either take a helicopter there, which they only run on certain days of the week. So you can take a helicopter in, you can take a helicopter out. We heard Beyonce took a helicopter and a lot of people were super upset about it. So if you want to just go and see the views and not deal with the hike, then by all means go for it. Another option is that you can hike in, and if you get really bad sores on your feet or you're just completely demolished, you can also helicopter out. But we highly recommend looking up what days the helicopter runs, because when we were there for the 4 days that we were hiking in and out, we only saw the helicopter 1 time. So you don't want to be stuck standing there saying, okay, where's the helicopter, when it doesn't even show up that day. Next, you can also take a mule in. We saw the mules going up and down the trail when we were hiking in and hiking out. You drop your bag up top, you hike in, and you pick up your stuff about 2 miles away from the campsite. The last way is hiking in all by yourself. We are about to start the trail. It is 7:30 right now. The road coming into the reservation actually opens up at 5 a.m. So you want to make sure that you get here as early as possible, because like I said, you want to try and get a good camping spot down there, and you also want a good parking spot there. So we have about 10 miles. We're hoping to get there around 11 or noon. We're going directly into the Grand Canyon. We're super stoked. We'll see you at mile 1. We just made it down to the bottom, little base of the canyon.
Mile 1 done.
That was mile 1. We are cruising into this canyon now, starting off the morning strong. That is mile 2. Have the hoods on now. Got our sunglasses, a little bit of sun protection. It is a beautiful day out. It is April right now, so we're expecting the high to be around 69 degrees. This morning up at the top, it's 28 degrees, but when we get down to the bottom, probably around 34. Mile 1, like you saw, all the different switchbacks. Mile 2 is just kind of in this wash. We're going in and out of different mini canyons, but it's absolutely stunning. All right, we'll see you in mile 3.
All right, we're at about 3 miles and that's been about an hour. So we're doing a pretty good pace, really chill down here in the canyon. Lots of beautiful wind caves, exactly how I remember it from 2019. But yeah, it's really nice weather right now. The shade keeps you pretty cool.
The shade is so much colder.
And we'll see you at the next mile.
All right, we just hit mile 4. We are halfway to the village. We just passed the mules. If you do see the mules, just move off to the side. Yeah, they definitely have the right of way. You don't want to get hit. Even when they were running by, they were throwing rocks up and a few of them hit me in the head. So just be careful when the mules are passing.
5 miles in, we're at about 152. And biggest takeaway on that mile, it turns into sand for most of it, which is really nice on the ankles. And we saw a lot of day hikers coming out without any packs on. Yeah, definitely bring water and things. Everyone's coming out here with no packs on. And I'm
crazy.
like, what? You need water. You're in the middle of the Grand Canyon, it gets hot. So please bring a day pack.
All right, we've officially going into the Havasupai Indian Reservation. We're right at 6 miles. That is 9:52. Continuing to cruise, more than halfway there. Let's go. All right, we have officially made it to mile 7. So we just crossed the bridge. We are about 1 mile from the village, which we cannot film in. So we will not be showing you that part, but right after the village, we will be getting to the waterfalls, which is the best part and the whole reason we're doing this backpacking trip. When we are cruising, we are, as you can see, much more shaded. It's a lot more trees around us. That is because we are next to the famous water. The blue water here looks absolutely stunning. We have perfect weather today. Hoping we get a good camp spot. All right, we have officially made it through mile 8. We are almost to the home stretch. We just passed the sign that said like Beaver Falls, Havasu Falls, all the next falls. So there are 3 waterfalls before we even get to the campground. So we're super excited. The blue water is flowing directly next to us. Crystal clear sky. We're gonna try and make it to the campground by lunch. All right, let's keep cruising. All right, there's the first waterfall. That is 50-foot waterfalls. We're gonna keep cruising to the campground. Come back. We have officially hit mile 9, guys. We just passed, we think, 50-foot and Little Navajo. We're not sure yet.
We've been here before. I don't know why we can't figure it out.
My memory is terrible. That's why I used to make all these videos. That way I can look back and remember them. But some beautiful waterfalls. We were a little worried that it was gonna be brown because of all of the rain, but I think it's looking good. On to the campground. All right, we are at 10.3 miles now, and we're in the campground. We've been walking around though, probably like a half mile. We're trying to find something close to the water with a table and not on the main path. So we've been looking, we walked almost the whole campground.
So it took us a total of 4 hours and 12 minutes to get over here from the hilltop all the way down to this particular campsite with the like scouting included for it. And we did about 11 miles in total as opposed to the 10 because the campground is like huge. So it stretches over for over a mile.
Where is the best area to set up camp in Havasupai? Now, this is a tough question and really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to be close to Mooney Falls, which is the biggest waterfall there? You can camp almost directly on top of it, so you can wake up, have your morning coffee, read a book looking at the beauty of Mooney Falls. The only problem with camping over by Mooney Falls, it is the farthest place from the town. So if you need to hike up to the town to buy food, if you wanted to hike up there to catch the helicopter, to go get fry bread, to hang out at Havasu Falls, anything like that, it is going to be the farthest away from it. It is also the farthest away from the spring where you fill up water. So it is going to be about a 15-minute walk to get to the spring and about a 20-minute walk to get all the way to Havasu Falls if you are camped close to Mooney Falls. Now, if you are camped close to Mooney Falls, the pro is that you are the closest to Beaver Falls as well as the closest to the Confluence. The Confluence is the long hike going all the way out absolutely amazing. And Beaver Falls is what most people do as a day hike on their trip to Havasupai. Now, if let's say you camp in the middle, you get a little bit of the best of both worlds. You're close to Mooney, you're close to Havasu, you have the water close to you, but that is also where you're gonna find the most foot traffic. Everyone's walking by bathroom 1 and 2. There's tons of big groups that just line up side by side in the campground. We walked by it and called it Tent City. So if that's your vibe, you love hanging out, meeting other campers, maybe you're a solo backpacker and you wanna meet some other people, that might be your best bet. The other option is closest to Havasu Falls. This is right at the beginning of the camp. It's next to the ranger station. If maybe you're a little nervous, first time backpacking, you will be closest to them. It's the closest to the town, closest to the spring, and closest to Havasu Falls, but it is also the farthest to get to Beaver Falls. They say that Beaver Falls is about a 5-mile round trip, but now it's gonna be probably an 8-mile round trip if you camp at the beginning of Havasu Falls, because it's about 1.5 miles from Mooney Falls all the way there, and you wanna make sure you account for that. So you can decide where is the best place to camp for you. In our opinion, it's closest to Mooney because we wanted to do the Confluence. Where is the best waterfall to hang out at during the day? Now this once again is all up to your opinion. For us, we loved hanging out at Beaver Falls, but we would highly recommend getting there early. We arrived around 9 a.m. and we had the place almost completely to ourselves. There was no one else there because the sun wasn't hitting Beaver Falls yet, so that was awesome. This is where you can do some jumping off the rocks. You can hike up quite a few of the cascading waterfalls and it is stunning. Next is Mooney Falls.
This is the beautiful view over on the way down to Mooney Falls. We are right below the famous chain section, or right above the famous chain section. It's definitely not like optimal lighting if you're a photographer after 2 o'clock.
This one I wouldn't recommend hanging out at too long unless you're gonna bring a hammock. There's some great spots to hammock, but the water is not really for wading because the waterfall is so powerful. But unless you wanna just get pounded by the waterfall all day, we would recommend hanging out at Havasu Falls. Havasu Falls has tons of areas to hang out inside the water. There's a beautiful little cascade. You can walk up directly in front of the waterfall because it's not too deep and it's very, very nice and refreshing. It also has some great picnic areas there. So in our opinion, the best spot, if you're just looking to hang out for the day, would probably be Havasu Falls. There are 2 more waterfalls called Little Navajo and 50-Foot Falls, but those are both gonna be about 1.5 miles to 2 miles uphill going back towards the town. They're also the smallest and least visited, and when we were there, we did not even get to go because of the flash floods. The trail leading out to them was so destroyed, we didn't want to have to do too much bushwhacking. So we would recommend settling on the biggest one, which is Mooney, the most beautiful one, which might be Beaver, and the most relaxing one at Havasu.
It's officially day 2. Just finished up eating breakfast and we're gonna head out to Beaver Falls first and then the Confluence if we're feeling it. It's around 14 to 16 miles round trip to get out to the Confluence. We've heard a mix of people's watches and like trail data and things, but my trail data says it's 16.5 round trip from like the beginning of Supai and we're at basically Mooney Falls. So we'll keep track of how long it takes us. It's about 7:10, 7:15 right now, and we're gonna take you on for the ride.
Here we go. All right, we just made it here to Beaver Falls. See it right behind us, it's absolutely stunning. It's about 2.5 miles to get here. Took us about 1:15, so not too bad. You cross the river 3 times. From here, we have another 6 miles. We'll see how long it is till we get to the Confluence, but if you come to Beaver Falls, it's all in the shade. My opinion, the best pictures, they look just like this. That's when you're gonna get the best stuff anytime before 9:30 a.m. It's now 9:30, the sun is hitting it, and it is April, so it might change if you come in a different month, but we had it basically all to ourselves. There's 3 other people here. Ton of fun. Next stop, Confluence, here you go.
Confluence, which meets the Colorado River and the Havasupai waters into one little area right behind me. You can see it is quite a contrast between the turquoise blue and the brown, but it's absolutely beautiful. We just hopped in and you can go for a little swim right over here. Of course, you want to be really careful of the current out here, but it is like waist to chest deep over here so you can swim and hug the side. You'll see all the rafters and pack rafters out here that are doing a long camping and rafting trip. Super, super fun. I highly recommend. I thought this was really cool. We were talking to someone who had done it a couple years ago, and they said it was not this blue the last time they went, so waters could change, but it's a beautiful sunny day here and perfect weather, so we got really lucky with the turquoise water. So the mileage is technically 16.5 from the campground and back. My watch clocked about 6.5 and my phone clocked 9.3. So still kind of TBD. It took us about 3 hours and 20 minutes to get out here with taking photos, breaks, etc. So that's pretty good.
The last question you probably have is, was the Confluence worth it? Now, in our opinion, yes, it was totally worth it. It was an awesome hike. We did 16 river crossings getting there and coming back. There was no one else out there. There was probably 400 people in Havasupai camping, but when we hiked out to the Confluence, there was only 11 hikers that did it, which is crazy thinking about how many people went out there. We got to meet some really cool geologists and different National Geographic videographers. They were capturing some video of the fish. We met some rafters out there that were on a 24-day trip down the Grand Canyon. It was just a really cool experience. Now, were we sore and completely exhausted the next day? Yes. Yes, we were. It was a long day of hiking, and we do a lot of hiking. We're out there all the time doing backpacking, hiking up mountains. So if you guys are an avid hiker and think you can do it, I would highly recommend it. You can probably get there in about 2.5 to 3 hours. It was a pretty easy straight shot down the canyon. If you guys are a little bit more nervous, don't do a lot of hiking, I might recommend that you wait and do it on your next visit to Havasupai, or that you start very early. We started our Confluence hike at 7 a.m. We made it to the Confluence at about 11 a.m. That was because we hung out at Beaver Falls for about an hour, hour and a half. We left the Confluence at 2 p.m. and we got back to camp at 5 p.m.
G, please tell me, how are you doing?
I'm alive, but I'm dead. But for real, that was awesome. But for real, I'm tired. I go for some dinner right now. Expect a long ass day. That was like 6.5 hours of hiking. Well, we don't know if this is accurate, but the watch says 12.6. The phone says we did 18.9. So we're in between 13 and 19 miles. It's a long day, but it's worth it if you're prepared. Signing off. I'm deceased.
So it was a 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the go most of the day type of hike. So if that sounds awesome to you, then I would highly recommend going for it and floating down all the way to the Colorado River. So when is the best time to visit Havasupai? In our opinion, there's 2 good times to visit. One is March, April, and May. So that is after all the snow has melted. It is decently warm, but it's not too hot. So it's good for hiking. You get some wildflowers when you're going in there if Arizona gets a big super bloom, as well as, in our opinion, it has the best weather. The other great time to do it is later in the year if you were gonna do it in September, October, or November. Now November, they do start to get ready to close down for their winter season where they stop tourism into Havasupai. So you do wanna make sure that you avoid the fires. It's the other hard part in September, October, November. The wildfires in California and Arizona can cause a lot of smoke to go into the Grand Canyon, which can make your hiking experience not so great if you go in through those later months. If you hike during the middle of the summer, it's just gonna be very, very hot. We went in middle of April and it was still pretty hot. Even when we were in the water, hiking back and forth between camp, filling up water, it's going to be very, very hot. So plan accordingly. In our opinion, the best month to go is April if you can get some reservations or find them on the cancellations page.
All right, we made it out. It was about 11 miles total from where we were camping over at Mooney Falls all the way up. Yesterday, we didn't do a lot of vlogging or talking just because it was our relaxed day. After the Confluence, we were both very exhausted. So we hung out over at Havasu Falls. We got some fry bread that was fantastic. If you guys want fry bread, I'd recommend bringing about $20. Looks like it was $12 for a regular fry bread without meat and $15 for a fry bread with beef. And that was at the best one. We recommend the best one is the one closest to the waterfalls. We were in the shade the entire time. We woke up at 4 a.m., started hiking, and we just now got hit by the sun. as it was filling up the canyon. There was 2 other people ahead of us that we were cruising with, but not as many people in the morning. I think if you guys come on a weekend, you will definitely see a lot more crowds. When you're coming on a weekday, like today's Tuesday, we didn't see as many people cruising in. If you like this video and you want to see more adventure content, we are doing a new bucket list adventure every single month this year. We started in Finland with the Northern Lights, then we went to Australia and New Zealand to swim in the Great Barrier Reef in February. In March, we were in Japan chasing the cherry blossoms, and now we're hiking one of the most famous, beautiful waterfalls in the US. So if you want to see more of this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys out there on the next adventure.